It's not your typical rags to riches story. There are no fairy godmothers, no big Wednesdays, just self-belief, hard work, flair and ability, plus a great love of adventure. Petone, it's where it all started, both for Wellington and for Neville Jordan. Growing up here in the 40s and 50s, life wasn't all beer and skittles, but for Neville it was a happy and nurturing environment. Things changed though when, at the age of 15, his father died. Supporting the family and studying at school, he learnt the value of application and sheer hard work.
I then went to university and in my first year failed everything while on a public service scholarship. And so that was a big kick in the pants for me, having been dux at the secondary school.
He also developed his adventurous spirit that eventually took him to scuba diving in the depths of the Arctic and Antarctic, scaling the heights of Nepal, motorcycling around the world, and a company listing on the NASDAQ in America. Neville graduated in engineering from Canterbury University and joined civil aviation. From there, he took off for study in America and joined IBM.
So after 5 or 6 years in IBM, I decided to set up my own company. I literally left IBM on a Friday and started the company on the Monday. For the first 5 years, I was designing military communications equipment, and that was the start of the company.
MAS technology grew and grew and grew, and soon it was time to list on the stock exchange. The only trouble was the New Zealand Stock Exchange wasn't interested. Not so NASDAQ, which welcomed MAS and Neville with open arms.
We were the first, in fact, the only company to have listed on the main board of the NASDAQ Stock Exchange in the USA. Yes, that's right. A very, very successful listing as well.
With the company doing so well, 18 months later, Neville sold his shares to an international company and retired for about 3 weeks before re-emerging as a venture capitalist. Neville set up and still runs Endeavour Capital.
I was looking to foster this in New Zealand so we can get what I call geometric growth, so that then the next generation of people coming out of these new companies would again go off and start their own businesses.
It's a commercial imperative, true, but there's also a philanthropic aspect. He knows New Zealand can turn out top-notch scientists, engineers and designers, but financial institutions in the late 90s were very reluctant to invest in science and technology, so he stepped in. Endeavour Capital is the only private equity company selected twice by the government to manage one of its venture investment funds. Away from Endeavour, Neville has served on many ministerial committees, the board of CRI, Ag Research, as well as on the boards of the Foundation for Research, Science and Technology and the Prime Minister's Growth and Innovation Advisory Board, and chaired an SOE. In 1997, he received the Governor-General's Supreme Award for Exporting and was invested in 1999 as a Companion of the New Zealand Order of Merit. He's one of only 3 living New Zealanders to be a laureate of both the High Tech Hall of Fame and New Zealand Business Hall of Fame. He's the elected president of the Royal Society of New Zealand. Through his Jordan Foundation, he has generously supported education and the performing arts for over 20 years. As for the secret to his own or anyone else's success, utter confidence in your abilities, recognizing your shortfalls, and having the desire to achieve. And achieve is what the lad from Petone has consistently done. In April, he was awarded an Honorary Doctor of Engineering from the University of Canterbury, and tonight at the Gold Awards, Dr. Neville Jordan is acknowledged as a true Wellington icon.
On an occasion like this, I feel somewhat like Elizabeth Taylor's 8th husband on the night of their wedding. I know what to do here, but now how can I make the next few minutes interesting? Prime Minister, Ministers, Members of Parliament, to the regional mayors, perhaps over the next few minutes if I can make this interesting by talking about a couple of statistics and also offering up a challenge and an opportunity for us all. As you saw in the clip, The company that I founded started in very modest circumstances with a capital of $2,000. Those in merchant banking here and banking will recognise that this was somewhat undercapitalised. However, the company did start in the bedroom of my mother's home in Petone and did grow to a very substantial company. The figures are interesting. That company grew from $2,000 and through the listing on the stock exchange, through venture capital, and in companies that we are now investing in turn, the net foreign exchange from all of those companies rolled up as well over $1 billion of net foreign exchange. This is not paper pushing, but it shows what can be done here from a base in Wellington. But my point is not the figures, it's what is in behind that. Because a kid growing up in Petone with a mother who was 25 and a father who was 60 at the time, both with next to nothing education, but certainly encouraging, or they understood the value of education and encouragement and what that could do. And an event like this to a kid growing up in Petone those years ago would have been just dreaming an impossible dream. But if you think back just 10 or 15 years ago, think about what we knew then about aircraft whose capacity would be roughly 500 passengers flying 14 hours non-stop. We couldn't have dreamed that 15 or so years ago. We could not have dreamed about sending high-definition pictures or indeed video across the world in seconds. We could not have dreamed about, for example, the invention of the high-speed dental drill in New Zealand. Also, pre-birth blood transfusions from New Zealand. These would have seemed impossible dreams at the time. So, my main point here is how can we inculcate, inspire and encourage our young people to dream those seemingly impossible dreams. Because it's only with the elapse of just a few years that those seemingly impossible dreams become actually possible. And then they can reach out and grab the occasions such as this evening. To the sponsors, Dominion Post, thank you very much for this award, which I accept with honour. To all of the people of New Zealand and Wellington, thank you for the help that you've given the various companies of my own and others that we've invested in along the way. In fact, there are 3 companies represented here this evening in which we have joint ventures or have funded, and they have all added to that very, very remarkable export growth. To one and all, namaste.